Hey guys. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the Red Scare. And I will say this, it's the first Red Scare. So if it's the first, that means there's going to be a second one. Okay, so the first Red Scare is going to come down to this country right here. It's our favorite country to talk about, right? Russia. Okay, what happens? Russia is going to be fighting in World War One. And what happens is in 1917, okay, they're going to leave. So World War One's happening. These are the years that World War One's happening. In 1917, Russia will leave the war, but the U.S. joins the war. So this happens in the same year. Okay. Now, you're probably wondering, hopefully, why does Russia leave? And I'm going to tell you. Okay. Russia left because they themselves were having a war. It is called the Russian Revolution. Okay. The Russian Revolution was fueled by Bolsheviks. It's a really cool Russian term, isn't it? Okay. Bolsheviks is a group of people who were communists. Okay. At this time, you've got communism really taking hold. Karl Marx, if you guys have ever heard of the Communist Manifesto, it had been written about 50-ish years before this, in the 1800s. So this idea of communism, this idea of a classless society, and this idea of, there's no different class societies that are like trying to take over each other. Everybody is kind of like on the same level, right? It's kind of like this utopia kind of feel to it. So what happens is the Bolsheviks, they're communists, they have this ideology, and they overthrow the Russian government. When I say they overthrow it, I mean they successfully overthrow the government, and this is when Russia becomes the Soviet Union. Okay. So this is now officially when you start calling Russia the Soviet Union. Okay. And I will refer to Russia as the Soviet Union pretty much the entire part of this class. Okay. So they overthrow the government. Now, here's the problem with the communists. Everything the communists believe is completely contradictory to what Americans believe. So, for example, like I said, communists believe in this everything's controlled by the state, everything's centralized, there is no private property, so there is no this material wealth. So, we've got the top 1%, the Bill Gates, the Kardashians, the Jeff Bezos, all those people, they are really rich. And then you've got the middle and lower class who struggle a lot. And so the communists, they don't believe in that. They believe everybody's equal, everybody's the same. And capitalists, which is what America is, our economy is based on, you work hard to get where you want to be. If you want to be successful, you have to work hard, right? And since we have that ideology as working hard to get more, that completely goes against what communism is. So that's why we have this huge rivalry with communism. Okay. Well, when the Bolsheviks overthrow Russia, America loses their ever loving mind. Okay. So here's a nice little flow chart for you. Russian Revolution. The communists successfully overthrow the Russian government. The U.S. loses their mind. So what do you think is going to happen to the Russians living in America already? If you said racism, you were correct. Okay, Russians living in the United States are going to face severe consequences just because they're Russian, or because they have a Russian accent. I mean, these again could be American citizens and their parents are Russian, and they're going to be faced with these brutalities as well. So then you're going to have everyone is scared of communism. Hence why this is called the Red Scare. Because guess what color communism represents? Red. right, red. Okay, so everybody's scared of communism, this is why it's called the first Red Scare. This happens again in the 50s and 60s when we're actually in the Cold War with Russia, which we'll get there, don't worry about that. But I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on with the Red Scare and what it means. So I'm going to show you what you're going to be doing for this assignment. Okay, I'll go ahead and present my screen. There we go. Okay. Thank you. So you're already on this PowerPoint. Okay. So this is, where the video is going to go. This is going to tell you about the Palmer raids. And I know it looks like a lot, but the font is just really big. Please read this, please, because it's actually some really good stuff. If you like mailbox bombs and people just overthrowing stuff, like just chaos in the United States, this is a really good read. Okay. I mean, I'm talking about the FBI was getting blown up, the CIA. I mean, everybody was getting blown up. Okay. In mailbox bombs. So make sure you read this. The Palmer raids are really cool. And this is Mitchell Palmer. He was an attorney general. So he's in charge of the Department of Justice. So he led these things called Palmer raids. And pretty much what they were doing was trying to subdue this communism movement that they thought was happening. Everybody thought that these communists from Russia were trying to invade our government. So Palmer tried putting a stop to that. Now, let me tell you real quick. These people were not trying to invade the United States government. Okay, it was just this fear that they had. It was just, I mean, kind of like a 9/11. As soon as, after 9/11 happened, there was this racial fear of anybody from the Middle East. We'll talk about it, this whole thing again when we get to Pearl Harbor. As soon as Pearl Harbor happened, there's this fear that the Japanese, people who are Americans, but they have Japanese descent, there's this fear that they're trying to spy on the government and all of this nonsense. So that's why all these raids were happening. Okay. So go back this. So there's the Palmer raids. And then this shows you a timeline. This right here is the revolution I was telling you about. That's why I circled it. Okay. So if you've heard of Lenin, that's where this guy comes into play. If you've heard of his name before. Okay. I have care. Okay. I have put red and bold and some major things that happened. I know this looks like a lot, but guys, if we were doing this in class, I had to pretty much cut all of this in half. So I know you're doing this on your own, but go through, read about the Palmer raids, read about the timeline. And of course, what do you think immigration is going to do? I hope you said it's probably going to be limited. Okay. So immigration is going to rise in 1920 because World War I had just ended. And all these people who were trying to get away from these war-torn areas were coming to the United States where it was safe. And, well, because we were so scared of communism, we're going to put an Emergency Quota Act. And what this did is it limited each country to a certain number. Okay? So it pretty much cut our immigration in half. And so these are some charts where you can see, this is when we put our Immigration Quota Act in law, and look what happens to immigration. This one is probably my favorite chart because it shows you where they were, what part of the world they were from, and what the quota was. So you can kind of see who we favored the most. Look at Great Britain. Great Britain and Germany and Ireland, they had the most. So that kind of tells you, hey, we like you guys more, so we're going to let you guys come in. Okay. But if you keep going and keep looking, like Egypt has 100, Palestine has 100. So now it is based on the people living in the country already, so that does play a factor into it. But since we're not together, I'm not going to get all detailed. And this one's pretty cool too because it shows you how our immigration changed, you know, especially in Europe. So you can see Russia used to have this many immigrants coming from Russia, but now you only have this many. So you can see that visual there too. So what you're doing is you're taking all of this and you are answering these questions. There's 3 questions that you have, just 3. That's it. But by goodness, if it says 3 to 5 sentences, you better be typing 3 to 5 sentences. Okay. What were the key events? So right here, I'd probably use the timeline. The 3 to 5 sentences explain the Palmer raids. So after you read the Palmer raids, if you were telling your mom or your dad or whoever about what you learned about the Palmer raids, what would you say to them? Type it right here. Okay. In 3 to 5 sentences, explain the immigration laws that were passed during the 1920s and why they were passed. Okay. So if you were telling me, or again, your mom or your dad or whoever, what was passed on immigration and why they got passed. If you could summarize that in your own words, put that right here, okay? And for extra credit, if you want extra credit, type your response and then change it to red. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so when you get done with that, just make sure you click turn in. I miss you guys so much. And I miss lecturing and I miss telling you all the cool, fun stories. So I'm probably going to do more of these. Just because it gives me a reason to do my hair and my makeup, and it makes me talk about history, and that's what I love to do. And I just wish I could see all your faces. Like I'm about to cry right now, but it's okay. So first Red Scare, Russians, communism, love it. Here it is. Okay, so here's your assignment on the Red Scare. Let me know if you need anything. Bye.